another moment for our fellow students and teachers and faculty in Florida and the losses that they've suffered over the past time since we've had our last meeting. So let's have a moment. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard. Here. Mr. Johnston. Here. Ms. Mineo. Mr. Menuda. Here. Ms. Prokop. Here. Mr. Stridiron. Mr. Tavano. Mr. Walker. Ms. Ambito.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose. Matter made confidential under FERPA, employment history of particular individuals, matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, the review of programs and placement of students with disabilities, and collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, NTA, CSCA, NASA, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard. Yes. Mr. Johnston. Yes. Ms. Mineo.
Yes.
Mr. Menuda.
Yes.
Ms. Prokop.
Yes.
Ms. Ambito.
Yes.
We will return at 7 o'clock. So to our superintendent, Dr. Padilla.
Thank you, Madam President.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to disrupt this, but as a parent.
Excuse me, you can't do
As
this.
a parent with many parents here,
No,
no
sit down.
disrespect to you.
Please sit down.
One moment, please.
Please sit down.
A lot of us want to
Can you
discuss
get
the real reason why we're here.
And you'll be given an opportunity, but there's a process and protocol. It's standard procedure throughout. They want to hear from the community, and there's a basic that parents will be allowed to talk. All right, so again, thank you, Madam President and Board of Trustees, community. I apologize for having my back to you. It's not intentional. It's a board presentation, so I have to address it. So tonight we have several presentations. The first one, we want to give the board an update. Is this working? Give the board an update on what we're doing around district communication. And so tonight, part of that communication will be on district branding and school identity. And so one of our communication strategists, Cassidy Sklarz, will be assisting on this presentation to really update the board as to where we're at, what we've communicated with our schools as it pertains to school identity. In the coming weeks, we're going to be sharing with the board a new communication manual that will be for the entire district, both internal stakeholders as well as external to our families and other constituents. So for tonight, again, the focus is purely on school identity and branding. So branding definitely is a key component of how we communicate messages, the look and feel of our district. And so you'll notice in some subsequent slides, this emphasis on becoming one district, all right, while honoring the individuality of each of our schools, okay? And then overall, we want to make sure that our image, our message, our overall communication is consistent. So, Ms. Sklarz.
Good evening. Thank you very much for welcoming this presentation tonight. So branding, as Dr. Padilla mentioned, we're talking about a visual branding tonight, but branding is also our culture and our identity, the programs that we offer, the things that our consumers come to expect from who we are as a district. And branding is a very business-like term, and so I want to clarify our consumers, as I'm sure you already know, are our students and parents, our faculty and staff who we attract and who we retain, our community members, our lawmakers, and other funding sources, and that list could go on and on. And so what we talked about primarily for this presentation was the visual look of our branding. And we talked about various logos and how those impact the way that we feel and then also then the way we behave. And so we presented a few weeks ago to principals, and these are the questions that we posed. How does your individual school logo make you feel? And how does it depict the culture and identity of your school? And then that same question for within the district. And then we presented some common logos that you may be familiar with. And the reason that we presented these was because, one, we're a very visual society with Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. Our students and our parents are making very quick decisions based on visual cues. And so, we wanted to make sure that our branding are in line with those trends that we're seeing as well. Just something that I wanted to point out were two of these logos and how they just give an example of how the visual cue may inform behavior. So Walmart and Target, I shop at both, and I have different feelings about both. Walmart I usually go to at Christmas time. It's rushed, it's hectic, there's a lot of lines, and so that's what I think about. Target I have a better feeling about, but it also takes a lot of my money, more than I'm usually thinking of spending when I go there. And so how does those visual cues then inform my behavior? I do a lot of my shopping on Amazon. There's no lines, and there's better prices. And so that's what we wanted to talk about, of how are our logos and our visual cues informing the decisions that our families and our community members are making. And those decisions could be anything from staying with our district, going to a private school, or choosing to come here in the first place. And so we took a brand as an example that has a lot of different flavors, literally, but very much like our school district. It's one organization, one company, but it has a lot of different sub-brands to go along with it. And we looked how uniformly they look. And you can see that the cans are different. You can see a regular brand and a diet brand. You can see even the evolution. The swirls that go through the cans have been singular, or a few different swirls going through. Sometimes at the top of a can there's a different color that tells you what flavor it is. But you know the consistent kind of experience you're going to have with this beverage, or at least with this brand. And so again, we brought back that question, how do our logos make us feel? And then we presented what our brands, our logos currently look like. These are some of the elementary logos, and these are some of the middle school and high school logos. And so in our work with ADG as a consulting company and on our team together, we talked about how we could bring these together and a little bit more uniformly. And again, for that visual cue, but also for that behavior. So parents and our community members know what to expect in each and every one of our schools. And we came up with, I'm just going to skip ahead to these feeling parts. We came up with a few designs that for each school, and we know that some of the elementary and middle schools have their own mascot, and we thought, would they be more willing to change their mascot or their colors, and also what does that mean to us as a district? And so this is what we presented to the principals, and then when they asked us to present to their schools, we did so as well, and we gathered feedback. Primarily, we got feedback as far as that principals liked the colors, and also that they liked keeping their mascots. However, we did get a few responses that they would like various age gold backs, so pre-K gold back, an elementary, middle school, and a high school gold back as well. So we're continuing to collect that feedback to figure out our best brand moving forward, and again to make sure that we're in line with how we want to communicate to parents and what that message and that feeling that they really want to give to our district. And this is really just part of a much larger whole and much larger project, our overall messaging and consistency, and again making sure that our parents are visually have an immediate feeling from their elementary, pre-K, all the way to high school and into alumni, so alumni come and give back to us as well. This is just an example of what a social media page might look like for a school, and again, very similar to different schools as well. Another aspect that we would have to highlight our programming and highlight our successes. And of course, maintaining our mantra of doing it with love throughout all that we're doing throughout the district.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, so thank you. Again, we'll be coming forward in a couple of weeks with the overall communication manual for the board to see. All right, so we're going to go ahead and proceed.
should be one thing presentations. So it looks like we'll start with whichever one you have first is fine. All right, so this is GAMS, so we'll have our principal at GAMS, Ms. Sobel. Alphabetical order.
Good evening. Okay, so we were given a task, as you probably all know, of coming up with one thing to concentrate to help our school move forward. Having been at GAMS for a year now, and when we were given this assignment, I was only there a few months, that was a difficult task, because there's a lot that can be done there. So in speaking to the support group from central office, they suggested I choose a grade level to work with. So our fourth grade teachers are new to the grade level, and so that seemed like a logical place to start. They've been in the building, they're not new teachers, they just moved to grade 4. So we took a look at what they've been doing, using iReady as a basis for some of their performance. We're looking at helping the students gain their knowledge of reading using the iReady diagnostic assessment. They're given that at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and then the end of the year. They've just completed the middle of the year assessment, so we don't really have enough data for that as well. As you can see, the superintendent has given us a primary math specialist to help in the building, and I have to say she's wonderful. We're very happy she's there. We have a literacy technology specialist in the building that we created at the beginning of the year, and she has performed embedded professional development for the teachers in guided reading, and that's something that we've been focusing across the building. And we've had data meetings. We have a data team and looking to review student data continually, just to look at where they're gaining and where they're not, and what we need to do. So we've had several meetings. We have Datacom, I'm sure you all know. Fourth grade team is, as what I said, relatively new. They really haven't had the opportunity to develop as a team, at least when I started. They're getting there, I have to say. It's now, I guess, almost March, so they are getting there. Guided reading has been leading to more success in the grade level. We've been purchasing books for them, and the technology specialist has really, I've asked her to really concentrate on this grade level to help them create centers and guided reading, and she's been doing that, and they've been really doing well. So as I said, the literacy technologist, I'm reading down the list because I talk sometimes faster than I read. We do walkthroughs, and Ms. Elise has come in to help. Some of you have come in, central office, to do some walkthroughs. Mrs. Miller, our assistant principal, and I do walkthroughs. Our master schedule has a dedicated literacy block for every grade level, and that's when we usually do our walkthroughs. So fourth grade literacy block is just after lunch, and we go in, it's 12:30 to 1, almost 2, and we go in there to check to make sure that everybody is doing that, and I am really a taskmaster when it comes to that. I want everybody following the schedule. Right, Matt?
Yeah.
And we look at the already data for each quarter. So here's some of our data from walkthroughs. In the beginning, we only had 2 teachers who really were looking at a guided reading. And as we're going along, they're moving along, some more than others. Some are more proficient at it and are getting better at the guided reading, creating centers, and getting the students involved in literacy. So it's getting better. So, as you all know, GAMS is a focus school. Most of our ELA student scores were below grade level, and we're looking, of course, to increase their skills. To me, that's more important than any test scores. And so we're looking to increase those. We wanted to help the teachers, since they were new to the grade level, to help them have the knowledge to teach those skills that are grade appropriate. Some of them came from lower grades and they weren't exactly sure how to teach literacy at that grade level. So we've been working with them and helping, and I think that it's coming along. As I said, the master schedule has a sacred literacy block, and they need to be in their rooms or the active learning space if they choose to be there, but to be teaching literacy at that time. And I've repeated pretty much, we have grade level meetings monthly, and we always focus on instruction. So that's been helping as well, taking questions from them and offering support for them. Our next data com is next week, and I will have updated data for that.
Questions or comments?
Questions? Anybody?
Board members, questions or comments? Mr. Johnston?
Yes. Is accountable independent reading a part of your strategy for improving literacy at the 4th grade level?
First, they have to have the skills to be able to read independently, but yes, certainly we want everybody to love reading and to read independently, but not everybody can do that, so we're working towards that.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mrs.
Thank
Sobel.
you.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next one thing presentation will be from Ms. Ramos from Fostertown.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for having us here this evening to share what we're doing at Fostertown. Stephen Covey said we're working on the culture. Culture is not a mission, a vision, or a strategy that is printed on a piece of paper or mounted on the wall. Culture is not listed of school values or the school policy manual. Culture is not what is proclaimed out of someone's mouth. Rather, culture is how people actually behave and treat each other on a consistent day in, day out basis. Culture is being seen, felt, and heard. Participating in a positive, collaborative school culture can be one of the most rewarding experiences for teachers and students, as well as an administrator. In order to create this culture, we have focused on main things. So, my Fostertown one thing is concentrating on the culture and the process of Leader in Me. It is a process, it's not a program, so it does take 3 years to implement the process. For us, we started with culture, because culture is everything. The vision for Fostertown is creating the whole child and making sure that the child not only is academically sound, but very, self-sufficient, self-confident, self-worth, have self-worth, and have that social-emotional basis behind them. So we devote significant time helping students connect with each other, their teachers, and their expectations for our community. The physical environment, we are passionate about creating a unique school environment, murals, street signs, and quotation posters, and bring school cultures to life by providing visual representation of goals and passion within our school. Our common language is Leader in Me, facilitates a common language between teachers, students, with parents, and facilitates communication using the phrases such as think win-win, carry your own weather, seek to understand, and widely important goals. Are not only common, but we are well understood and internalized by everyone associated in the school. The language is discussed in academic topics, in disciplinary issues, and assemblies, as this accelerates the understanding of stakeholders. So, based on those principles, we have created our one thing plan reflecting the development of this culture within the building. So we have a process of monitoring the fidelity. If you notice in our one thing, I revised my goal because at this point in time, since it is a process, there's a rubric you need to follow when it's Leader in Me. It's no evidence, it's when you're starting, it's there. Then you have developing, and then you have maintaining, and then you have sustaining. Okay, so we were really at the basic when we started last year, and now we're going into the developing stage and trying to get to our mature stage. So the one thing we'll tell you that we have percentages where we do a fidelity measure on the adults, how much they use the language in the classroom, how much they facilitate and give the empowerment to the students, how we create the culture in the classroom to instill that students are leaders and not just sit and just listen to what's going on in the classroom. With our goals, we implemented in October that 50% of our students in grades 3 and 5 will demonstrate a basic knowledge of the Leader in Me process, and 50% of the students will demonstrate developing knowledge. Then we moved on to January, which is what we have the data on now, is 25 of the students will do mature. Mature is when the rubric gets to a point where the students are now establishing that language, they're using it every day, they're leading their groups, they're leading their meetings, they're leading the school with their ideas. We do rallies for that instance where the students take over the rallies and they lead the rallies. In March, which we will be updating for next month, we will give you more data on 50% of the students will be at mature level, and then 50 will be at developing. And our hope is that by 2018 in June, they will be all at the mature level. So that's what we're looking for. As we progress toward this goal, in March we are progressing, we progress monitoring the classrooms at a mature stage. And how we do that is we walk using walkthroughs. And when we walk through a classroom, we're looking for different things. We're looking for the language in the classroom. We're looking for the teacher using the language. That's how we measure the fidelity measure with the adults. Their language, the decorations around the classroom, how the students are treating each other, how they're working in their groups. For students, we look at their implementation in the Lighthouse team. We have a Lighthouse student team, we have a Lighthouse adult team. With the students, we also look at their language, at the way they work with each other, and at the way that they present themselves in the classroom, and they lead their classrooms in the academics also. This year, we touched upon academics where we align them to having them make their own goals. They each come up with their own binder, and in their binder, they have specific things that they need to adjust. With goals, they set their own goals, they maintain their own goals. It's me. And they adjust their own goals. And again, I'll finish really quickly. We have an active Lighthouse adult team, student team. All our staff members have access to all the resources and the online materials. And we have collaborative meetings every month to work on leader and me initiatives. Thank you.
Board members, any questions or comments? Thank you, Mrs. Ron.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Sorry it took so long.
All right, while the next presentation is being loaded, I want to talk very quickly to let the board know that this Friday you will be provided with some detailed information regarding the national student walkout. We are aware of 3 specific dates, March 14th, March 24th, which is a March on Washington, and April 20th. We so far have been in communication with our school administrators to kind of engage with students about their interests. I've had students actually reach out to me and other folks on my team. We had to sit down with law enforcement just regarding the concerns of so many students. Obviously, with the school district of close to 12,000 students, as you can imagine, the enormity of trying to support students using their voice in a positive way, is something we're very much in support of. And our students are speaking to us very loud and clear regarding their concerns around school safety and their deep concerns for what happened to the students and adults in Florida. And so I will be providing you with some information regarding what's taking place across the country and what the district plans to do. And so I've asked the principals to communicate with their students to see what their interests are. Right now it appears that our older students are really asking for the support to do such a walkout. But we want to do it in a structured, coordinated way. And so we sat down with law enforcement to kind of share our concerns and our ideas. And so once we hear from more students and our staff, we'll be communicating with the board and with families as to exactly what the district plans to do. All right, so you can expect that information coming shortly. I have well over 200 emails that I still need to get back to. This week has been very intense, last week as well. I've tried my very best to get back to as many parents as I could. Some have come to the central office, others have called us, and many have emailed us. And we will continue. As soon as I leave here, probably until midnight, I'll be returning emails until I can get through the 200 that are waiting. So the next presentation is around the leadership pipeline. This is the second goal
And just to preface this, this is just an update as to the work that has taken place so far. I'm not scheduled to report on this in a formal way until May, but it's going to be an update as to what's taken place so far. Can you go ahead and this is the video? So this is just to give you the context around the need and why I felt this needed to be a personal goal of mine. So that was just to provide you context around the challenge, right? So I've been very much unapologetically sharing with the board our leadership challenge. And so that continues to be something that as a district we need to address. But as you can see, over the next 6 years in this region, there will be close to 160 admin vacancies. And so we need to be at the forefront of retaining our very best administrators, recruiting and supporting individuals from within, and then making the work here in our district so appealing that others would want to consider us first before going elsewhere. And so this table just gives you a breakdown of where specifically we see the vacancies coming over the next several years, all right? And kind of what we're looking at this present time. Again, this is just a draft, but we see the leadership pipeline in 3 different ways at this point in time. We see it as current teachers who are looking to go into administration who currently don't have certification. And there are a number of those teachers. We have current teachers who in fact do hold certifications. And then we have teacher leaders who have no interest in ever becoming an administrator. They're happy in being a teacher, right? And there's, we need to applaud those individuals. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't look for opportunities to engage them in leadership opportunities. So whether they decide that they want to go into administration and have a career there that's promising and exciting, or they decide they want to continue in their particular union and do work as a teacher, but what can we do to put them in positions and provide opportunities where they can support their colleagues and support administrators as a teacher leader? So I just want to be clear on those 3 distinct sort of pathways. So here's just a very quick video from some of our administrators as to what it's like to be an administrator here in the district. We don't have access, but what she would have said, right, what she would have said is she would have talked about how she started off in the district as a teacher, and I'll make sure you get this on Friday so that way you can really have access to the video. But it was our current administrators interacting with teachers, interacting with students, and Sue Valentino is the president of NASA, and she's just talking about what her pathway has looked like, starting off as a teacher and now moving into a high school assistant principal. So 3 distinct goals at this time is to put an effective leader in every single school. To prepare for our leadership gap, right? So you saw that loud and clear in the very beginning, right? We know what's coming down the road, right? We know from national research that we already have a teacher shortage, right? So we have a teacher shortage that's national, that certainly has impacted our region, and we are seeing that there's an administrative shortage coming down the road. And then really we want to make sure there's opportunities for a range of different people. Again, to the 3 pathways that I highlighted. At this point, we're looking at 3 distinct components of our pipeline. So one would be sort of traditional. Right now, I've been in collaboration with the Mid-Hudson Study Council Executive Director on establishing a Newburgh cohort, where folks who are interested in pursuing their certification in administration would be able to take their classes right here in our district at a discounted price. Right? So the traditional route would be to just go to a college, like many of us have who are administrators, and take your coursework and pay whatever they're charging for credits. Through this avenue, we're looking at approximately $950 a course, which is discounted several $100s to be able to do it right here. And that makes it convenient for individuals instead of having to travel to the actual campus. We want to, in addition to, so that's in my eyes traditional, while they get the perks of a discounted price and being able to do it right here on our campus, right? That's a nice perk, but it's still traditional. They're still going to receive the traditional coursework just here with us. We're looking at an intensive summer cohort, right? And so these individuals who decide to be part of the Newburgh cohort would also agree to participate during the summer for several, probably around 2 weeks, where it's an intensive institute where our staff get to interact with them and kind of show them the Newburgh way. Talk to them about the things we're doing from a leadership vantage point in the district, right? So they get to interact with our deputy, they get to interact with our executive cabinet, have these individuals kind of lead sessions with them. And then lastly, the third component that we're looking at is, a strong mentor piece, but in the form of shadow days, right? And so how can we look at release time to allow these teachers interested in going into administration some release time where they can work alongside a current administrator? And so those would be three components of the leadership pipeline that we're considering. Possible partners. One I mentioned already with the Mid-Hudson Study Council. They're very interested. They're just waiting on us to say what we need and what we want. New Paltz, they're working very closely with the Mid-Hudson Study Council. And then for the Summer Institute, that incentive piece that I mentioned, right now we're considering on-point leadership. And then again, here's some additional perks, right, that we're requiring that is very different from other cohorts that are currently running right now. So we're looking at a 360-degree leadership assessment. We know that that's a valuable assessment to help people understand their strengths and areas that they need to grow. The 4 semesters is what's required by New Paltz, but we're adding in a summer component. Again, I already mentioned that that would be happening here, and we're going to negotiate and advocate for a discounted price for Newburgh employees. The Summer Institute would include some of these components, right? And so right now we're coining it as Tesla, but again, we're looking to have our administrators work with on-point leadership to design the summer piece, so that way we're sort of right there with them, we're grooming them, we're engaging with them, and talking to them about what the experience of being an administrator is like today and what we want it to look like in the future. All right, so very quick update to give to the board. Again, I will be providing you something formal and final closer to May, but at this time, Madam President, any questions or comments?
Questions or comments, board members? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Dr. Padilla. Board members, I'd like to ask for your consensus on this. Right now, we're at the public discussion and comments on agenda items. I'd like to change it to have non-agenda items come now, and then we can do agenda items later on in the meeting. So I'd like to go around and get your feeling about that. Mr. Stradine, do you feel I can change that?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Ambito? Mr. Munoz? Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Crawford? Thank you. So right now,